People trust in people, right? Trust in doctors, trust in lawyers, trust in politicians, trust in financial investors, trust in husbands, trust in wives, trust in kids. We trust all sorts of people, don't we? And much of our trust is going to determine our happiness. Some people trust in money. They say, money will give me happiness. Money will give me control. Money will enable me to have what I want. Some people trust in power. They say, if I can manipulate or control my situation, then I will be able to have security. That's what I trust in my power. Some people trust in health. They say, as long as I have my health, I have everything. I'm fine. I can deal with anything. Some people trust in institutions. They trust in the government. They trust in the church. They trust in an academic institution. Most people, they take a little bit of each one, right? They trust in some people. They trust a little bit in money, trust a little power, trust a little bit in health. Put it all together, that's what they trust in. Now the question is how worthy of our trust are all these things? Well, are people always trustworthy? Two people can go into a business and they can work together for years and years and years, sweat together, work together, and what happens? All of a sudden one finds out the other's been stealing from them for 10 years. Best friends steal the spouse of their best friend. Kids abuse parents and parents abuse kids. People aren't always trustworthy. Have you ever felt, I don't know if I can trust myself sometimes? How about money? Can we trust money? Easy come, easy go, huh? Boy, one day you can have money, the next day you don't. But I think even so, with money, I think we realize that money really has its limitations. You can trust in it to a point. It can give you a certain stability in life, but it certainly doesn't fill all the voids. And the same is true with power. If money is fragile, power is even more fragile, isn't it? You can spend an entire life building a career, creating a position of influence, and boom, it can go in 1 minute. It can go in an hour, and it isn't even something that maybe you do yourself, a boo-boo or a mistake. Somebody can undercut you, and it all collapses. Can you trust in health? Well, you can do a lot of things to preserve your health. You can do a lot of things to stay healthy. But boy, you know, there's a lot of folks that say a lot has to do with the genes. Where's the guarantees? We don't have any guarantees with health and institutions. Boy, we've really seen institutions today take a hit. Do we trust our government? Even our churches. People think of the church today, and what do they think of? They think of sex scandals. Institutions of higher learning. We're finding out all sorts of things about them that maybe they're not as pristine as we thought at one time. And so we're left with this big question mark. Who can I trust? And we look around in the world and we say, that's why Christmas is such a life-changing alternative. Because God comes into this world and He says, look, you can trust me, and I'll prove it to you. And that's what the life, the ministry, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is. It's God proven that you can put your trust for everything in Him. Now, we tell the Christmas story so often. I think it's really important so we don't just take it for granted. You know, that what God did in coming to this earth. You know, we kind of think, well, we go to work and God, you know, He gets born in a stable. That's just the way it is. God does God things and we do our thing. He didn't have to do this. That's so important to understand. There's a passage in the Bible that says that Jesus is in every respect God, but He didn't hang on to that for His own benefit. He didn't say, well, I'm God, why should I help those people? But He opened up His hands of all of His rights and humbled Himself. He did that for us. The day Christ was born, it literally divides history, doesn't it? BC and AD. But more than that, it is God coming to this world, and He is filling that emptiness that each one of us has inside of us. That's the size of God. Every single person knows that God is out there. And Christmas is God's way of saying, look, you know that I'm out there. Here I am. Now, this morning, let's take a look at the way that God proves His trustworthiness. There's 3 words that begin with the letter C. He is consistent, He is compassionate, and He is convincing. Let's talk about, first of all, consistency. One of the great proofs or evidences of the inspiration of the Bible is its consistency, its unity. From the beginning in Genesis to the end in Revelation, there is this theme about God and people and how God continues to try to bring people back to Himself. And the prophecies of in the Old Testament of the Messiah are one of the great examples of that consistency. In Genesis already, you hear God say, I'm going to send somebody to undo what Satan did. And then you go through the passages that Dave read in Isaiah of the virgin giving birth to a child, of the child who would be born, the wonderful counselor, mighty God, Prince of Peace. And the whole Old Testament, it's like a drum beat, you know, a tom-tom. And you hear it in the distance when it's far away. In Genesis, it's kind of faint, but you hear that toom, 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 toom. But you get closer to Malachi, and it becomes a resounding, like a timpani drum in an orchestra, and it's earth-shattering, ear-shattering. And the message is plain and simple. Somebody's coming, and He will change your life forever. Not only is the Bible consistent in its presentation of a Savior, it's consistent in its presentation of who God is. God, He doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. You want that kind of God. He's a God who is holy and just. He is a God who is loving and caring. And you know, a lot of folks don't like the first part of God, do they? A lot of folks don't like to read the Old Testament because God's holiness is really set forth in the Old Testament. People are, oh man, God seems to be so mean. And yet, what does God say with His holiness and justice? He says, I'm against evil. He says, I'm against pain, I'm against suffering, I'm against starvation, I'm against death. Are we all for that stuff? No! Don't you want God to be against that kind of stuff? Well, His holiness is the proof that, yes, He is the ultimate good God, and that there will be an ultimate good ending where the good guys will win. A lot of people make God out to be like a grandpa who has the grandkids come over, you know, and the grandkids just, you know, they break all this stuff, you know, and at first he's, you know, oh, you little rascals who broke my table, oh, you know, and then they break the remote, and well, you know, kids will be kids, I just don't, and then, you know, the house is a mess, and they're going, and then the grandpa goes, I just don't know what to do with these kids, you know, and then he sighs with relief when they go. And that's the way people want God to be, you know. Oh, those human beings, you know, they kill each other. What am I going to do with them? Hey, wait a minute. That's wrong. That's terrible. People abuse each other physically. They abuse each other mentally and verbally. There's a whole lot of suffering out there. And what God, with His holiness, says, I am going to bring an end to it. And when I bring an end to it, you're going to be able to come to me, and you're going to be able to stand before me forever. You want God to be holy. That's the only certainty that things are really going to work out. But on the other hand, He is committed in His love. And it's that committed love, then, that through the cross, through the empty tomb, that enables us to have the forgiveness of sins. It enables us to be sure that we're going to be with Him when He does make everything right. Let's talk about His compassion. You see His compassion in the people He deals with. In our story for today, who does He come to? Cleopatra, the queen of